Hello everyone and welcome back to Black Blaze Gaming. My name is Dakota and I wanted to do a bit of a retrospective looking back on my old Ignoring His Abuse video. Hey, you shush. And it's been a while since I put that out and a lot of my life has changed since then. And a lot of the video's gotten a lot more reception than I ever expected it to get, but it's interesting the kind of reception that it's gotten. I mean, as of recording, I believe it's hit about 11,000 views now, which is makes it the biggest, the most popular video on all of my channels, and I have hit 200 subscribers, all of my new subscribers coming from that video. Although I think there might have been maybe one or two along the way that came from my Hypermetroid playthrough, which people use as a walkthrough now because that that ROM hack was pretty obtuse in its design aspects. So, yeah, I wanted to go back and kind of clarify some of the things about it, where I sit now as far as that video goes, and my opinions that I expressed in that video. Before I get into it, I want to express my gratitude for all the support that I've gotten from everybody. A lot of you, leaving comments and liking the video and even subscribing. Even though this is supposed to be a gaming channel, I did, just a video about something I was very passionate about, and I'm honored that it resonated with so many people. But it's interesting to be here now and looking back on that video, because there's a lot of negative feedback that I get about it, and so every time I get a comment that is negative, that is telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever, and I mean, because I am not qualified as a psychologist or anything like that, so this is just one man's perspective, really. Not that a psychologist's perspective is any different, but they do at least have more experience and understanding of the human mind. But every time I get one of these negative comments, I begin to doubt myself, which I guess is normal. I start to think, man, what did I screw up? What did I say in the video that, was wrong, or what did I not agree with? Now that I'm older and a few years have passed, I understand the world better than I did back then, and so my views might have changed. But every time I rewatch the video, I agree with everything I said. But then I started to think about it more and noticed a trend in all the negative comments I was receiving, and I realized what was going on. I mean, it's been a long time since I made the video, and it took a long time for it to suddenly start getting all this attention, so my original intentions with the video and its titling were kind of lost to me over the years. I kind of just let that video go in my brain. But it came back to me what really was going on. And the thing is that, being, in a very, connected friendship or relationship with somebody for a long period of time, you are an important part of that person's life, their support network, all of that. And then suddenly getting ignored by that person, with no explanation, no reasoning. It's that sort of behavior, treating someone in that way, is typically associated with narcissistic behavior. It's very selfish and compassionless. And interestingly, a lot of the negative comments I received, most of them actually, except for I think one so far, gave me the feeling that the person writing the comment kind of took it as a personal attack, which it's not supposed to be. But taking it as a personal attack is a fairly egocentric thing to view it as. And that being said, it's kind of... I mean, the title of the video is clickbaity. I intentionally clickbaited the title because it makes this, I don't know, this absolute statement. And absolute statements are pretty much never true. I mean, you can talk about even factual things in science and physics. There are exceptions to most of those rules, even, that we can't explain. But that's getting way too cerebral and out there. Just specifically in this case, saying that ignoring is abuse is not really what I am saying in the video, and it's not what I believe either. And I think it's necessary to clarify that. But the interesting thing about that is if you think that a lot of the comments that I got gave me the impression that the person writing the comment also didn't really watch the video. They just saw the title and assumed that, you know, I was calling people out for ignoring other people, and they were taking that as a personal attack. And instead of watching the video, they leave a comment, which ironically makes the video more popular, and so it reaches an even wider audience. And the majority of people who've seen the video, I think, at least the majority of comments I've gotten, have been positive. The like-dislike ratio is pretty standard. I mean, you get a few dislikes, but mostly likes. It's a pretty decent, I think, overall reaction. So, in a way, the title of the video works as kind of a trap for those types of people that I talk about in the video. You know, you if you're so heartless and so narcissistic that you think it's okay to just drop people out of your life with no explanation who've been there forever, you know, then of course you're going to see that title and think that it's about you, that it's a personal attack on you in some way, when that's not really the point of the video. And again, to clarify, it's not about... I don't believe that every case of ignoring somebody is a form of abuse. I mean, there are plenty of perfectly valid reasons to ignore people. I think we've all had a moment in our lives where we've had to ignore someone. And does that make us all abusers? I don't think so. But there are cases where I believe that it is. And one of the major backlash comments, one of the most common things people said specifically to me was that you don't owe anyone your attention. And I mean, that's fair. That's a very true statement. You don't owe anybody your attention and your time. But you're not obligated to be a kind person either. So it's just nice when you are. And that's not to say that you're a bad person for not, you know, giving everybody your attention all the time or whatever. But I do believe that when you have created this rapport with someone and have this major connection with a person that you've built up over years, I do feel like that does create certain responsibilities, certain obligations to that person. Because if that person cares about you, then you essentially have some control over that emotion. And it's not something you completely control, but I would say on some level you should be conscious of it and careful about how you treat a person who really does care for you. That said, people will cause... People will suddenly just care for you like crazy out of nowhere with no build-up and no time passing, really. And it's happened to me before. I've done it before. It's you know, it's really common, I think, with men specifically, because we often... men aren't treated very well growing up. Men are pretty... We trash talk each other a lot, and we're pretty hard on each other emotionally and everything. So when someone is nice to us, it's very easy to get attached. Now, recently I was diagnosed with ADHD, which I didn't know I had. It's something that develops when you're a child, but if undiagnosed, leads to other things like major depressive disorder, which I've also been diagnosed with, and general anxiety disorder, another thing I've been diagnosed with. I mean, typically those two go hand in hand as it is. And one thing I found out about ADHD is that typically people with ADHD have a proclivity towards just feeling emotions more strongly than others. And so developing attachments like that is something that's very common for people like myself. So do I handle someone ignoring me a little less well than the average person? Probably. But I don't think it really invalidates my point. And these sorts of, intense emotions that come with being ADHD. I mean, it's not all downsides, but I get that it can be overwhelming for other people, and it sucks that I'm like that, and I've been like that for so long, undiagnosed, on top of it, untreated. And I think there's been a lot of cases in my life where I've been ignored by people, where I don't think they were unjustified in doing so. I think the vast majority of times that I have been ignored, which, I mean, isn't a ton of times, but I would say it's usually they have a good reason for it. Sometimes I don't think it's a good reason, but at least they give me a reason. It's the ones where they don't tell me anything, where they don't communicate with me, and we've been friends for a long, long time, and they don't tell me why they're suddenly not talking to me, that I just... It's so hard to get closure. And I think closure's bullshit, personally. I think closure's a stupid thing that doesn't really... It's made up. It feels like it's made up to me. It feels like a, fairy tale. Like, closure is when you die, I think. But in these cases, I can't think of a better word to call it than closure. If you have a friend that you've had for 7 years or longer, and they just suddenly disappear into the woodwork, wouldn't you have some questions? Wouldn't you wonder about it for quite a while? I mean, I still wonder. And the friend of mine that the original video was about, he still hasn't come back into my life. As far as I know, hasn't even tried to contact me. Did end up sleeping with my ex-girlfriend. But that's the way the cookie crumbles on that. And I honestly, that I don't care about, because it's like I didn't really want to associate with either of them after that anyways. Or before that. But after that, it was no different. It's... I do think that there's just a lack of closure. I think that when you hold someone's esteem in your hand, and you just drop that person out of nowhere, I think it's fair to say that you might owe them an explanation. You don't have to give them an explanation. You're not completely obligated to. And I mean, in a lot of cases, I would say that you're not obligated to, and shouldn't. In some cases, where just further contact would just be more poisonous than it would be good for either party. Because there are some seriously rotten people out there. I mean, people that do really, really awful things and are really bad to be around other people. So I get, cutting off contact with those sorts of people. And I mean, it happens all the time. It's interesting because my girlfriend right now, she's seen the video a few times, and she kind of felt, her ego got in the way at first because she's had to ignore someone in her past. And she was... Initially, she felt, like a bit called out. She was worried that she did the wrong thing. But I talked it over with her, and I was like, I hope I didn't give you the wrong impression, because I know the situation with her and this other friend of hers. And I said, I don't want to lead you astray and make you think that you screwed up here, because personally, I don't know this person, but I personally don't think you did the wrong thing here. There are certain people that you can't keep around, and it sucks. It sucks so much when you're not compatible with somebody. I want everybody to like me. I wish that were the case. I wish that were possible. I think I know people that nobody dislikes, but But then, it's just, I'm not the kind of person that will attract purely positive energy from people. And that said, it leads me to another topic that I want to discuss, and that's a term I recently learned. I learned it from my girlfriend, actually, and I think it's a pretty fitting term because I've run into this a lot in my life, and it's toxic positivity. One of the major reasons why people have distanced themselves from me in my past are because they consider me to be a very negative person, and they're like, I don't want negativity in my life. And of course, that statement by itself, and this is going to sound harsh, and I mean it to sound harsh, but that statement by itself is easily one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. It's so ignorant and naive to think that you can just push all negativity out of your life. I'm sorry, but life is negative. There are a lot of negative things about life. I mean, if you want to get pedantic and go down to the electron level, there's positive and negative electrons. But I mean specifically in the way that we interact with the world around us, what goes on in the world around us. Everybody dies. And we won't always say that's a positive thing. As a matter of fact, most of the time it's not a positive thing. But, being realistic and expressing these things in a way that's, in touch with reality, is viewed as negativity, and it baffles me. I've had a really hard life. I've dealt with a lot of things that really, really suck. I mean, obviously, I have mental illnesses that I've been fighting for years and have been screwing up all of my fucking interpersonal relationships. Not that I'm any help, since I've developed tons of bad habits as a result of this stuff, and I was a stubborn bastard for a long time, wouldn't get help. But, it's... I've had a lot of negative things happen to me, and I'm honest about those things. I don't really have anything to hide, so I feel like discussing these things openly is important, and being honest and letting people know that, I've been through shit. I'm not that I'm just going to come out of the gate with, my dad beat me, I'm not going to start off, not going to be an opener for me, but it's something that I'm not going to hide or conceal in any way. So for someone to distance me because I talk about negative things is insane. I've had so many problems with people who just refuse to confront negative issues or any sort of conflict, and it's nuts, because you're going to encounter conflict in your life. It's unavoidable. It's one of the few things that is truly unavoidable. You will face obstacles and conflicts in your life. Our whole world is built around it. I mean, conflict is often the very motivation behind a lot of what we do as people. So I feel, it's just, you're being dishonest with yourself and others if you think that you can push negativity and conflict out of your life completely. That's not how it works. And so this whole concept of toxic positivity, of being so positive all the time that it ends up being a mask that you hide behind to get all the negativity out of your world, I think it is poisonous. I think it is really bad for your mental health and for the mental health of people around you, because you're essentially living in a delusion. That isn't to say that forcing a smile is inherently a bad thing. And again, this goes back to the previous video where a lot of people took this sort of discussion personally, like I was attacking them and saying, you're a bad person because you've ignored someone in your past. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think there's a lot of great reasons to put on a smile when you don't really feel happy. I feel like there's a lot of great reasons to be positive when you're not doing well. I mean, especially when you're not doing well, because you don't want to push away people that care about you when you're at your lowest point. That's horrible. And I mean, it's just like the opposite with ignoring people. Like it's super manipulative. You're controlling someone's emotions, and it's intentional. Whether it's conscious in your head where you realize that's what's going on or not, it is something that you're intending to do. You're intending to ignore someone in order to get a specific emotional response from them, or to teach them a lesson, perhaps, maybe to, you know, shut them down. But to be fair, again, it's useful in a lot of cases because some people need to be held accountable for their actions. Well, everyone does, but some people just don't get held accountable, and it's awful to watch some of these people who get away with essentially murder, and nobody bats an eye because, well, they don't want to confront this person. They don't want to tell this person that something they did was wrong. For whatever reason. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why people will, you know, allow a person to get away with things. I mean, obviously we have the term simp now for a reason, and some women have used that to their advantage. And to be fair, I think a lot of people who do this whole simping behavior kind of need to learn their lesson from that, and that it's not healthy to put someone on a pedestal in that way. And interestingly enough, someone was telling me in the comments section that that you shouldn't be putting people on such a pedestal that they can hurt you by ignoring you. And it's like, but you're not putting them on a pedestal by caring about them. That's really not the same thing. If you are putting them on a pedestal and you get hurt by their actions because they don't do what you expect them to do after you've basically worshipped them, that is more on you. But to just care about somebody and then to just outwardly break your heart, that's not on you. I'm sorry. I think it's really shitty because this person, said it was weak to be hurt by people like that, and I'm like, it's not weak, it's human, and I'm human. I wish I was made of steel, but I'm really not. And it's funny that he would say that I'm specifically, but I don't think anyone I know personally would ever consider me to be a weak person. Maybe physically. I mean, look at these guns. I don't have anything going there. But I've been through hell. The fact that I'm still going, I wouldn't say that I'm weak. But to be open emotionally as a man is often considered weakness by other men. So I'm not surprised that it was something that came up at some point. I'm actually surprised it took someone that long to finally, go to that place. And funnily enough, I made an example out of him, and I put him on ignore, because there are absolutely reasons to ignore people, and people like that who are seriously just toxic people who don't even bother to try and understand where another person is coming from. They have no compassion. I don't know, maybe the front lobe of their brain hasn't fully developed yet. They're they're in their early 20s, late teens perhaps. Why would I associate with someone like that? I don't think there's any reason to. I'm not a youth caregiver. Hey, buddy. Okay, bye. That's Lothric, by the way. Yeah, I'm talking about you because you're my best friend. He is a boxer bull mastiff, and he is very energetic, very cuddly. Hey, buddy. No. But yeah, so that's my TED Talk for today. This video is a lot longer than my last one, and I get that. Some people might not want to watch it all the way through. A lot of people didn't even watch the original all the way through. But I thought it was good to put this thing in perspective a few years later, that and clarify where I stand on a lot of these issues now, especially after the diagnoses that I've had and the treatment that I've been through so far. I mean, I'm not better, but I deal with these things better, and I still feel the same way. But I appreciate you all for interacting with me on this and supporting me through this sort of thing. I hope that I can make more videos that do resonate with people, even if this, is supposed to be a gaming channel. And I make videos on human emotions and psychology. Whatever. It's like it's like the greatest blessing and my worst nightmare at the same time. Like, it's a blessing that this topic specifically, since I'm so passionate about it, resonated with so many people, and a lot of people found comfort from that. But it's also, not the video I would have liked to take off on this channel, because I would say it belongs on a different channel than this. But you know, it's something I care about, and so I'm not gonna hide it away on some other platform. You know, I don't think that's right. So thank you all so much for watching, and tune in next time. This guy will probably be around more. Hi, buddy. Oh. This is what he did when I first got him. He stuck his head into my beard, and I held him on my chest. He was smaller than a loaf of bread at the time, little tiny boy, but he is. He's my sweetheart. He's a big dude now. And his voice sounds a lot bigger than he actually is. Buddy. He's a bit tired. He's been playing with the new puppy today. Yeah. Oh. What? I see that tail wagging. All right. Yeah, thanks again for watching, and again, for all the support. I might have more videos like this. I do have other topics that I've considered tackling. Again, I'm no expert, but I do have a way of articulating these things that I think is effective. So we'll see you then. My name is Dakota, and you're watching Black Blaze Gaming. Be sure to check out my Apex Legends videos, which are coming out in a slow fashion.